All right, well, we are hanging out today with a new country artist, Chase McDaniel. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's good to be in Florida.
Yes, so this is my first time meeting you. This is your first time here at our Beasley Studios here in Tampa. And you are on what we call a radio tour right now.
Yes.
So what's happening right now is your label is taking you all around to all these different radio stations, and you're meeting people, jocks and program directors, and just kind of introducing your music and yourself to all them, hoping that we'll fall in love with you and want to start playing your music. Is that how that works?
A lot of first dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 3 first dates every day. But yeah, we've been all over the Northeast and now in the Southeast, and I'm having a great time and a lot less sleep. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
So take me back to before you hooked up with your record label, Big Machines, which, by the way, is a great label to be on. A lot of big names on that. I know you're from Kentucky. Tell me a little bit about you, because we don't know anything about you. And when you're on stage at a sold-out stadium show, we're going to pull out this interview that you did here on this day, in 2025. And we're like, remember when he was in our studio and we were just, over there just hanging out and talking about stuff. So we don't know anything about you. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm from a small town in Kentucky called Greensburg.
Okay.
It is, if you know the famous Kentucky Headhunter song, Slawburger, Frying Bottle of Ski, the Dumas Walker song, that's in my hometown. So on my square, is Dumas Walker's.
Oh, okay.
It is, pretty historic in that sense. In other ways, not a lot there. A couple stoplights, that's about it. My dad was an addict growing up, so my grandparents took me in when I was about 10 or 11 years old and gave me everything that, a kid could possibly need. And made up for what I didn't have, unconditional love, taught me to go chase my dreams, and that's what I'm doing. So moved to Nashville, pretty young, just because I had all these songs on my chest that I had to get off, and was in and out of bands, and then the pandemic hits in 2020. And I lost all 3 of my jobs that I had at the time.
No.
And, was kind of stranded with $11 in my bank account. And we were having a party at my house one night. My buddy came out about half lit and saw me crying on the front with my mamaw. And I was asking her if she had a bed for me to go back home to, because, I'm running low on groceries and couldn't pay my rent. And
no money.
Yeah, so we fought about it for a little bit. And he ended up lending me enough money to pay my rent that month. That next week, I got a job bussing tables. After already putting in 100 applications, and the manager asked me how many shifts I wanted. I said every single freaking one of them.
Yeah, I need money.
Was working double, 17-hour shifts, going to the studio, writing songs, and recorded one. My bar manager, because I'd worked my way up to bartender, I'd bugged him enough to let me bartend. And played my songs over the speakers. A couple guys heard it, and then a few months later, I was introduced to Sky Borchetta at Big Machine Records. So.
Wow.
So my music now is, I have some early scars from those early years of my life, and I've struggled with things like depression and anxiety and mental health most of my life, and now I just try to write about things that matter to me, things that I think people in my hometown and other people go through, and I'm out to find the lost ones, which is the name of my record coming out in August. So that's just the whole purpose and mission of what I'm doing in country music.
Wow, I love that.
Thank you.
Well, that's a great story. There's a lot of roads that you could have gone down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I tried a couple of them. So wasn't the only one. Just this was one that worked out for now. So you always got to keep finding more roads.
Yeah, I love that you chose a good road, and that you have good friends.
Absolutely.
I mean, the guy who helped you out, your friend that helped you out, and saw you crying. I can't believe you were crying at a party. I mean, that's kind of weird for a guy.
If you knew how big the dream was, and you got to think, I wasn't at the party. I went out to, I don't know if I explained this good enough, but I went out to my GMC, which had a check engine light on at the time. So I don't even know if I can get home at that point.
When it rains, it pours.
Yeah, and I'm realizing I've been in Nashville at this point 6 years already, trying for the dream, trying to make Mama and Papa proud, because you come from a town like that where everybody was poor, there wasn't a lot growing up, and I have this blind dream in my head where I'm going to go, make something of myself. And there's not a lot of belief.
Home.
There's not a lot of belief behind me. So if I go home, I failed, and I've failed Mama and Papa too. And so, that was a lot weighing on me. So.
Well, you've got a new single out. It is called Burn Down Heaven.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what this song is about?
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of songs out there about what it feels like to get your heart broken, and not nearly enough, in my opinion, about what it might feel like to break somebody's heart.
I like the twist.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a true story. It's a confessional story about regret and growing up, taking responsibility, accountability about who you've been in your past. I've not always been the best boyfriend, I think. And
well, at least you can admit it.
Yeah. Well, also, I've always had a dream. I always had a mission someplace that I was headed. So that didn't always work out, before. And sometimes, you fall in love with somebody that you don't end up with forever, and that hurts. I just hated that feeling of hurting somebody else. And so the night that I wrote that, I was just thinking about this time of my life where I felt like God and all the angels were pointing their finger at me and blaming me for something that I just couldn't forgive myself for. And so that's where that song was born.
Nice. Well, I love it. It's a great song.
Thank you.
I want to talk about your hair.
Okay.
You have amazing hair.
Yeah.
Is this you've got this long, just beautiful curly hair. Have you always had curly hair?
It's always been pretty wavy. It crapped out on me about a year ago, and so now I'm on a routine.
Yeah. Oh, you've got whoever is doing your hair. You've got great hair.
My papa had an afro pretty much, and and so there's several people in my family. My mom had just crazy curly hair. Back in, I guess I've seen her high school pictures in the 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
She just had the big.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s,
yeah.
so I was very into all the bands and all the guys had the long, curly hair and whatnot. So, but guys still try to pull off that style nowadays, and they just can't. But you are rocking your hairstyle.
Well,
I mean, you've got
Thanks.
it. I love it. So, all right. So since you've been to Nashville, obviously you've probably been introduced to a lot of people, and you've been probably kind of getting into the whole, music scene. Anybody that you've been hanging out with, or anybody that we know that you're like personally pretty good friends with, or you're like texting with on a regular basis?
Like famous artists? You want to know my...
Who's the most famous person in your phone?
I can't say that I have a lot of famous friends yet. I mean, but I have a couple buddies that are, and kind of doing what I'm doing now. I've got another buddy on radio tour, I think his name is Kelsey Hart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Kelsey Hart.
And Kelsey and I kind of grew up in the same area, so he's from Central City, Kentucky, and so we would play these bars in his hometown.
Oh, okay,
I would drive like 3.5 hours to go to Central City, and we'd play at this bar called Stallions. And then one night he makes fun of me because we played at a family restaurant, and I was a little too tipsy. And I stood up on the stool and said, "Good night, Central City," and broke a whiskey glass and threw it down. And he was like, "Buddy, there were 9-year-olds there. We probably should have chilled that one out a little bit."
Well,
but,
you forget, you're all
having a
caught
great
up in
time.
the moment. And, oh boy.
But so we've had a few good times, and it's cool to see him, rocking it and chasing his dream too. And we're kind of in this same little mode of country music right now where we've come up together, which is really cool.
So, when you're on the radio tour, and then hopefully, your single gets played on the radio. Is that when you feel like, okay, I've made it? Or have you already kind of felt like, maybe the day you were signing your record label contract? When do you know? When is it going to sink in? Like, oh my gosh, this is happening for me.
Yeah, I don't know if it ever will. You have moments. It's a roller coaster ride, and so you just have to. And I'm used to managing the highs and lows. That's just how my brain is. And so this journey for me is just a journey of highs and lows. And so there are days that are great, there are days that are low. And I think the moment for me that was the moment where I'm like, this was my lifelong dream, was the night that I played the Opry for the first time.
Oh that would do it. Yeah.
My mama and papa were there.
Aww.
And it was actually the evening, my great papa who introduced me to what the Opry even was. It was he's no longer with us, but it was him and my great mama's wedding anniversary that night.
Oh.
And so it just all felt like this crazy string of events, this thread that had connected everything, and I just broke down. It's crazy.
Oh, I can't even imagine though how nervous you must have been.
Oh, dude, yeah.
What do you do to prepare? Like, what did you do like hours leading up to that? You're going to play the Grand Ole Opry. I mean, what do you do? Do you do a shot just to chill yourself out, or do you pray? I mean, what do you do?
A lot of praying. Yeah, I think, because I was like in full panic mode by the time that I got like backstage, and so all these people around me just having a good time. Like, oh, this is gonna be so much fun. I'm like freaking out. I'm in total panic mode. So I go in this dark corner, and I'm just like, please God, don't let me screw this up. Like, don't let me screw this up. Like, I've worked. This is like the ultimate thing that I've worked for my whole life. and my heart is just 200 beats a
I
minute.
can imagine.
I mean, and
Oh
then
my
you're
gosh.
walking out there, and everything's blurry. You see this. I mean, it just goes all the way. It's like it never ends. All these people, and then I step in the circle, and I swear to you, it was like lightning went through my veins, and it was maybe the only time in my life where the reality was better than the dream. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally
Because sometimes,
does.
like, you think, like, even like falling in love, sometimes the idea of love is like better than the thing it
Right.
really is. And like,
Yes.
this was the one time in my life where stepping into that circle was better
than
than
dreaming
anything.
about
Yeah, it was. And then probably by the first chorus, the first song, I was like, oh wait, this is what I do. Like, you know. And then I like calmed down a little bit, took a breath, and I was like, all right, we're here. Let's do this thing.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
excited
Yeah.
for you.
Thanks.
All right, so if you haven't listened to a lot of your music, it's kind of got a rock feel to it. I mean, you've got the hair already. We talked about that. So what kind of music did you listen to growing up that gives you kind of that edgier rock kind of music?
You'd be surprised. My first loves were Josh Turner and Randy Travis. So my great papa got me a Josh Turner CD when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
He loved bluegrass music, and he would go to this place called Renfro Valley in Kentucky and bring me back like a guitar pick or whatever. And he gave me this Josh Turner CD, and he's like, I want you to learn Long Black Train. And an 8-year-old, you know, I had no bass in my voice.
I was like,
Yeah.
you can't really sing along with him sometimes. So
No.
did you get the low voice in?
I kept trying. Yeah, as I got older, I think I just practiced it so much that I found ways. But my papa sang bass in a gospel quartet.
Okay.
And so I'd follow them around when I was a kid. You know, my grandparents were my parents. So, and I was just fell in love with like this low Southern drawl of a voice. But to the rock side of things, you know, we didn't have live music really in Kentucky. Like, so I grew up in a dry county. There was no alcohol. So there wasn't bars where people played country, rock music, whatever. So all I knew that existed until I was about 8 or 9 years old was bluegrass gospel.
Oh, okay.
And it was music in the church. That's all we had. And then I traded a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards in 4th grade for an AC/DC record.
There you go. Back in Black?
It was Back in Black. It's exactly what it was. And something changed in my soul that's never been the same since. It was like that Black Sheep came out. And I was like, oh, I think this is me. So
Great album, though.
it was a mix of Josh Turner and AC/DC.
Hey,
yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right, again, well, the new single, Burn Down Heaven, Chase McDaniel. We are excited for you. I can't wait to see where your career is going to take off. And thanks for taking some time to just chat with us today.
Are you kidding me? Thank you for having me. This is another one of those dreams.
Yeah,
So.
I love it. All right, thank you.
Thanks.